You're listening to the Service Business Marketing Podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping your service-based business grow and thrive using the latest technology in internet marketing. And now, here's the host of our show and the CEO of Grow Inc., Matt Law.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. I'm so glad that you are here. Episode number 2, we are going to talk about making your marketing measurable. And so here is the problem with every service business. They are spending money on marketing, but they have no idea what's working. And so it's like mixing $100 bills with mud and throwing it against a wall and hoping that something sticks. And here's what you say is, I don't dare stop spending, because if I stop spending, it may all fall apart because you don't know what's working. So most of growing service businesses are spending on agencies. They may be given money to agencies to spend on SEO. They may be spending money on Google ads or Facebook ads. They could also be doing offline marketing. They could be doing billboards, yellow pages, banners in outfields. And again, their thought process is that they need to get their name out there. And they mix this cash with mud and they throw it against a wall again in hopes that something sticks. And what I will tell you is that you don't need to get your name out there. That's not going to help you grow revenues. It may make you feel good, but don't get your name out there just to feel good. What we want to do is we want to grow revenues. When businesses are small, every dollar really matters. And so when you spend on ads, you need to generate leads, you need to generate business, you need to generate jobs and projects for your service business. And so what I'm going to tell you in this episode is that basically, no matter how small or big you are, you can measure your marketing. And so I want to walk you through that process of what we do when we have a new client to set up their marketing and make it all measurable. So let's start off with online marketing. And so you're doing marketing on Google ads, there's Facebook ads, wherever you're spending money online. And so what you can do to measure all of that is you need to first set up Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free tool. You put a little bit of code on your website. And after that is set up, you can then set up conversion goals. And some of the goals on a website may be like, for most service business, it's a quote request. Another goal would be when they click or they tap a button to call you. So that's called like a click to call. Very, very popular on mobile devices. And so those are goals because you want to generate phone calls and you want to generate quote requests or form requests. If you're following the 4-step formula, you may have like some free design guide or coupon ebook or something like that you're allowing people to download as well. That could be another goal. And so what basically happens is with Google Analytics installed on your website, you can determine which channels are converting. And so let's say, for example, you're spending $1,000 on Google and you've got hundreds of keywords in there. But if you have this set up the right way, you could find that there's certain keywords that maybe you're spending $500 a month on that only generate one lead per month, let's say. But that other $500 is spent on keywords that generates 15 leads a month. And by measuring your marketing, you can kill the marketing that doesn't work and you can reallocate it to what does work. So you can actually spend less on marketing and generate more revenues, more leads by measuring your marketing. So with online marketing, one of the hardest parts, and obviously you probably already have Google Analytics set up on your website, but the problem is most marketers don't understand UTM tracking. So UTM is the urgent tracking method, and it's like the universal method for passing on data through advertising. So say, for example, somebody clicks on your website from a Google ad, it should pass on some certain data. For example, where it came from, like at Google, what channel it was or the medium, which would be pay-per-click, and what campaign. You can also pass on keyword data, lots of information, even the ad information. But I find that most companies don't have their UTM set up. So if they're running a Facebook ad or they're running any type of online marketing, there's no data passed along. And all you do is you just take your website.com/UTM underscore source equals, and then you put in the source. But here's what I'm finding. It's not hard, but nobody does it. So if you don't have UTM data set up on your tracking, a lot of times you can't tell what's working on Google Analytics. So you have to have Google Analytics set up. And then if you're working with an agency that's setting up ads, you want to make sure they're passing on UTM, urgent tracking method data, really the source, the medium, and the campaign. And then they have to have goals set up in Google Analytics. Like you should be able to log into your website and to see from Google how many calls you generated and how many people filled out forms. You can even figure out what keywords did they use to generate a lead or a call. All of that data is available within Google Analytics. You can also set these up on Google Ads and Bing Ads and Facebook Ads set up for conversions on there as well. But the best place to do it is in Google Analytics, but you have to have that UTM data. So what about when you're spending money on online advertising and someone calls in? Like, how do you measure that? So there are call tracking tools, and one of the ones that we suggest and we set up for clients is a tool called CallRail. And I would refer them to you. I don't get any money from it, but I'm just saying CallRail's a great app for doing that. So you could set up an account with them, and then basically when someone visits your website, it will rotate the number. And so it gives you like 6 or 7 numbers. And so say they came from Google, and it will take the number that's on your website, your main number, and it rotates it. And then if that person calls you from that visit, right, from what it's showing on that number, what will end up happening is it will tell you where that call came from. And it will tell you, so if it's from Facebook or if it's from Google Ads or if it's from Google Organic, basically it rotates that number. And you can even make certain dedicated numbers, like say you get a lot of leads from Facebook, you can have a dedicated Facebook number. And so when someone clicks over from that, basically it will say, hey, you got a call from Facebook. Now, why this is so impactful and so important is because by having a way to measure your phone calls, you can actually see what's working with people that request quotes on the website by filling out a form and by also seeing what works through the phone. And so you got to measure both phone calls and web forms when you're measuring online marketing. But by doing those two things, you can measure all of your online advertising. So there's not any type of marketing that a service business does that really can't be measured. And so you could log in and you can see where those leads come from. And it's very, very impactful, very, very powerful using call tracking and Google Analytics. So that is online marketing and how you do, online marketing. The other thing with online marketing is that I suggest that you capture the UTM data in every form submission. So if someone contacts you, or most importantly, and you'll learn as we go through this training, is that we suggest putting a quote page on every website product page you have or service page you have. And so by doing that, when people land on your website, maybe it's if you're a fence company, it's for a fence, quote. They come over there. Where did they come from? And so what you can do is you can create hidden fields on a form, or your developer or your website developer can do this. Your marketing agency, they should put hidden fields. And the fields we use on there is data that we store on that browser. So if someone clicks over from Facebook, there's stored in their browser cookies that are the UTM source, medium, and campaign. So it would say the source is Facebook, the medium is pay-per-click, if it's a paid click, and the campaign, that would be the name of that campaign, how we generated that lead. They click over, it's stored on their browser, and then eventually when they fill out that form, they're passing on hidden fields. And all of this, guys, it sounds tricky, but it's 100% legal, 100% ethical. They're passing on how they heard about us. So then when the sales guy goes in and reaches out to that person, say, hey, I saw you found us on Facebook. That's awesome. Not only that, at the end of the year, we could go back and say, how much revenue did we generate through Facebook ads, through Google ads? And we can reallocate money. So it's about return on investment. So I will tell you that no matter how you market online, you can measure everything. And what I find in most businesses is that they're spending money and it's actually a waste. And if they were to get rid of all of the wasted money and reapply it to what does work, they'd actually spend a lot less and make a whole lot more. It's interesting how that works. So what about offline marketing? With offline marketing, if you're doing things like billboards or things like that, how do you measure that? What if you're doing like direct mail? And so what I'll tell you is all of that can be measured as well. So if you're using, let's just give a couple of examples like billboards or direct mail. And by the way, both of these have terrible ROI for the most case. In most cases, they have bad ROI. But say you're doing a billboard out there and you're trying to get your name out there. What I would suggest is the number on that, use a tracking number on that so you can see how many calls you get. You could just add another tracking number from your call rail tool and put it on the billboard. And the thing that people say, companies say, and what you may be saying, well, what if I cancel my account? If you're measuring your marketing and you're growing, you should never cancel your call rail account. I mean, it's for the amount of money it costs per month. I mean, you're talking like $50, $100 to measure your phone calls. You should be keeping that tool and those numbers. So that's not a valid argument, but you put your billboard out there and basically you can track if you get calls. What about like web links? And so in most cases like that, if you're doing direct mail, what you're going to do is you're going to put a QR code, and those are those little codes that people can scan. But when you program the QR code, you can pass on UTM data. So it could say source, direct mail, campaign, whatever you call that campaign. So you can actually measure all the QR codes. And if you are doing like a television commercial, not a lot of businesses are doing that, but some service businesses may, you could create a separate domain for that commercial. A lot of times people will Google you, so it's not 100%, but what if they type in that domain, like your company TV, whatever, like something special, or your company, you're in your city that you're in, or your geolocation. You can then take that domain and you can pass on UTM data and redirect it to your main site. So it's all in Google Analytics. So to give you a quick summary of measurable marketing, if you are not measuring your marketing, you've got to start doing this, friends. And here's why. You will be able to cut out all of the money that is wasted, and then you can double down on what works. And so if you are trying to grow and you're like, man, I just trying to get deals, you don't have cash to waste on stuff that doesn't work. You need every click that comes over from Google or Facebook, these giants, to be effective and to generate leads. And what I'll tell you is if you measure your marketing correctly, it becomes like a faucet where you can turn it up, you can turn it down. And imagine when the yellow page guy comes in and he wants to sell you, online ads and offline ads and a print ad, and you've measured it. Like you go to him and say, hey, let's measure it. Here's what I want you to put in on my ad. And you give him a tracking number, you give him a domain and a link that he needs to use for the website. And guess what? He comes in at the end of the year and you're like, well, it costs $12,000 for the year, probably more than that. And it only generated $4,000 in total revenue. I'm sorry, Yellow Page sales guy, you're fired. And for that matter, every marketing company, every marketing tool, every agency, every salesperson selling magazine ads, marketing, coupon books, whatever you're in, you can measure and you can fire the people in the companies that don't work, and you can double down on what does work. Measuring your marketing is absolutely the most important thing to have set up before you unleash the marketing arsenal as described in our 4-step process. So before we close out, I want to answer just a couple of common questions. How do I get started with measurable marketing? If you're doing it yourself, callrail.com is a great tool where you can get account set up. It will basically give you a snippet of code. You put it on your website, and it will search and find your phone number on your website and dynamically change it so you could start measuring right away. The other thing you need to do is go to Google Analytics, create an account, and you'll put some code in there. Google Analytics is a little bit more complicated, and so these are pretty technical things, but if you have a website developer, they could do it. If you have an agency that you already are working with, they should be able to do this very easily. They should have suggested it to you a long time ago, but you should be able to get access to Google Analytics. You can actually share access for Google Analytics. So if you have a website and they have created it for you, tell them to share it with you so you can see. And that's basically how you get started. There are tracking scripts you'd probably have to get custom made if you want to pass it on to your web forms, but that is a pretty in-depth process. I wouldn't suggest worrying about that just yet. Another question that's pretty common is, how long does it take to see a difference? Well, first of all, you have to get the measurable marketing in place so you can see all that data. But then it usually takes about a month. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut things that don't work, and you're going to double down on what does work. And so it could take a couple of months, but the beauty of it is, as you add new marketing and changes and you're growing, you're going to be able to spend less and make a whole lot more. So again, one thing that we suggest for every service business is making sure you have measurable marketing in place. CallRail, call tracking metrics are a couple of tools for the call system you can use. Google Analytics, making sure you have goals and conversion set up on your paid platforms, things like that. These are all things that we do as part of a campaign when we set them up for clients, but it's the right thing to do. And it should just make sense. Like, hey, this is what they are doing. This is what should be done. We're measuring what works. And really, it's the only way to beat Google and to spend less on marketing. Google capitalizes, all of Facebook, all of the media giants capitalize on the fact that you don't know how to measure your marketing. And so once you do, man alive, you save a ton of money. Again, if you are interested in learning more about our 4-step marketing process, you can go to our website at grow.inc/start, and you can download our complete measurable marketing book, our 4-step marketing book. You can also get a checklist and of exactly the things you need to do. And there is another guide that has all of the marketing tools that we suggest. So hopefully you found this super helpful. That is our goal. In our next episode, we're going to talk about how to build the perfect website and landing pages. And so you're going to find this episode really great because you're going to figure out that pretty websites don't always convert. It's really how you position yourself. And so we're going to talk about that in our next episode. Hey, appreciate you, entrepreneur. Thank you for listening, and have an amazing day.
Thanks for listening to the podcast today. We hope you found today's episode helpful and informative. For more information about Grow Inc. and to request our free marketing blueprint ebook and other resources, please visit www.grow.inc. That's GRO.inc. We'll catch you in the next episode.